3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Metaverse Church podcast, and we are going to dive straight into this episode because before hitting record here, Goose and I were already talking about really kind of what we've been experiencing the past couple weeks, and as I was sharing my experience within Big Screen, which we just launched into this weekend, Goose is like, dude, just hit the record button, let's go. And I said, fine, let's just hit the record button, let's go. So so we were talking about really what just happened. So we're recording on a Sunday. So so we launched into Big Screen, like officially, unofficially, I guess you would call it. Like we're starting to, in all of our events in alt space, like we're scripting out on there, like, hey, Lakeland VR is moving to Big Screen, hop onto our Discord so you don't miss out or you find out more, all that kind of good stuff. And here's the crazy part is we just got done doing a deep dive on Big Screen, and I gave all the information that I possibly could on that. My team and I think after you and I recorded that episode, we hopped in this past Thursday, and I realized for the first time that I've been playing in Big Screen. I've hopped into certain events that people are hosting in there. But when it comes to just streaming the YouTube feed that Big Screen has as part of their platform, I realized I've never actually been the consumer of that. I've always been the producer or a host of that room. And so two of my team members hopped in as we were just test running it, and they were just like, the volume is super loud. I can't hear a single thing that you're saying. And I was like, okay, well then let's try to figure this out. And there were so many features in there that I was just like, oh, this is cool. So then I had one of my volunteers host a room so I could see it from the consumer side of it. I was like, whoa, this is a little bit different. I need some handles on this. So it was really cool. But all that being said, we launched our first event. So I was 2D in alt space today hosting the event there while I was hands-on in Big Screen today. And we talked about in the deep dive that one of the hard parts about Big Screen is that they have a cap on users in a room at 15. But I was keeping a tally of all the amount of people that were hopping in, knowing that some were going to hop in, some were going to hop out. And running two services today, in just our first service alone, we had, by the time that I started keeping count, I started a little late. By the time that I started keeping count, we had 35. If you include those who were in before I started keeping count, we probably had anywhere between 40 to 50, if not more, join in on our 9 o'clock service. And then I think we had about another 8 to 10 during our 10:45 service today. So all in all, we had roughly 50 to 60 people attend Lakeland VR and Big Screen today with conversation going on, which was the best part. I wasn't really sure how that was going to go, but we were able to connect with people in the process. But that also matched the numbers of people that we had in alt space today. I went back and checked the analytics, and we had 60 people check out Lakeland VR and alt space, with 50 to 60 people checking it out in Big Screen, and probably more peak congruent users in Big Screen than in alt space. So
that's amazing. So
dude, it was cool.
Did you guys, so then you guys ran them simultaneously, it sounded like?
Yep.
Oh, right. Cause you live stream it, right? That's something that's sort of agnostic to platform. Actually, it is, you need multiple platforms, but we've talked about whether to do multiple services at different times and stagger them, or something that I've wanted to try is to run them all at the same time for a variety of reasons that we can get into at some other point. But that's interesting that you guys did that. That's awesome, man. So what was your any takeaways from the Big Screen experience this time in terms of anything that you would amend for the Big Screen discussion?
No, I would say that it all still applies from our deep dive into Big Screen. The biggest thing is I don't know if you've ever done like a trial run of something, like let's take the music, our intro music for this podcast, for an example. There's a website that's got royalty-free music where we got this from. And as I'm listening, trying to find something, it tells you over and over and over again, you got like this awesome music going on, boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom. And then like 3 seconds in, it's all, trial or whatever, right? So you got like this voiceover. It's like boom, chicka, boom, trial, boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom, trial. And so I ended up having to be that voice in big screen today. I would probably say anytime that I saw about 4 to 5 new names that filtered through the in-room users list, I would sit there and say, hey, once again, everybody, there's some new faces in the room, so let me just do a quick. My name is Stunami. I am the VR campus pastor for Lakeland, the church that is up on the screen right now. To stay connected with us throughout the week, if you're enjoying this, just hop over to our Discord. You can simply find us at lakelanddiscord.com. And I would just go, and that's it. I'll be quiet now and continue enjoying the service. So that's annoying. You know, at one point in time, there was a guy who started talking to me specifically because what I gather is that he's part of a church already that was in big screen. And he was getting ready to hop into their service, which was starting an hour after we launched our 9 o'clock. And as he was talking to me, he realized, and I realized, the hard part about it is, unless you know the controls to big screen, everybody in the room is hearing us talk, which is now a distraction to the service that's going on the screen. So there's ways around that. Each individual person can lower the volume of the voices of the people who are talking, and it affects them only, not the room. So there are workarounds with it, but you know, it was cool. He and I were just chit-chatting. He was just like, so how long have you guys been here? And I said, we're really just getting started at this. And, you know, this is our pivot from alt space to big screen.
Yeah. A couple of things. One, I love that there was somebody else there that presumably is also doing ministry in the metaverse. And I just love how, like, really the church is just permeating all of these platforms, like whether the platforms like it or not. Mm-hmm. And I love to hear that. That's awesome. Second question. So in big screen, is there no way to get any sort of signage up so that you don't have to keep saying lakelanddiscord.com, you know, or sorry, whatever the URL was, but like, you know, yeah. Is there any way to customize the room so that you can have that up there? And if not, like, what are your thoughts on how to deal with that?
Yeah, solid question. So there are interactables in big screen, and one of them is like a paintbrush or a marker, pencil, whatever. And you just write it in the air. I think we talked about this in the deep dive, but you just write it in the air, right? So the hard part about that is if somebody has distraction feature turned on, if I have something written on the wall someplace that says lakelanddiscord.com, they're not going to see it. It's nice for when the trolls come in and they're doodling whatever they want in there, you're not going to see it, but advertisement wise.
So the trolls can graffiti your signage essentially.
Yeah, for sure.
That's not going to work.
Yeah. But what I did process through, because I was sitting there just hosting the event today, and I was thinking, you know what I probably could do is, because there's the remote desktop feature and it's only Windows. So you got to have a Windows computer in order to run the big screen remote desktop. But I was thinking, like, what I probably could do is I could build out, you know, a slide deck, whether that's Google Slides or slides.com, and run that on the remote desktop and launch the event 10 minutes before our service actually kicks off. And so that slide deck is just looping through, just like pre-service slides. And on there, lakelanddiscord.com, here are some of the other things that you could do to be involved with us, all that kind of good stuff. And then just a simple swipe on my computer screen, because it's a desktop feature, it goes right into the live stream service. And I was even thinking, and I bet you because it's then the remote desktop, I have control of the volume instead of everybody else having to control their own. Could be wrong. There's something worth trying, but I would say that's the best way to manipulate the environment to have your own signage per your event.
And I mean, I would want to at least see how hard it would be and then what it would look like to see if I could get the feed with an overlay of some kind, like a bottom third or something like that only goes to big screen, and then you've got control over that. You could even cycle that in an unobtrusive way. And then that way, hey, every 30 seconds, the Lakeland Discord URL is going to go up there so that, we wouldn't have to audibly interject to the new people that come in. You just be like, look, if they're watching the video, they're every 30 seconds, they're going to see that URL like I said, not in a non-obtrusive way. I don't know how you do that. I'm sure there's got to be easy ways to at this point, there's got to be easy ways, even maybe through YouTube streaming, to toss some overlays on there.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is like Big Screen still has theirs listed as beta. So they still, in their eyes, they're still in trial run, right? It doesn't feel like it. It feels like a very well-established platform. But if they seriously still feel like they're in beta, I'm curious to see what else they come out with at this point. But if you're a church that your primary focus is on small groups, which for Lakeland we are, the environments that they do have to host your room, dude, like some of them are super sweet, like living room type environments, apartment type environments, whatever, that you're just like, I feel like I'm walking into a small group right now. We use their cinema room environment is what they call it for hosting the service today. I was like, this is actually really pretty sweet. Like it feels big. It doesn't feel, like super tight in quarters or anything like that. We had a guest speaker today, just right there up in your face kind of thing. Like it felt like an IMAX theater and it was neat.
That is really cool. I'm curious to hear when you really get small groups going in there, to know the strengths seem pretty upfront. I'm always curious about like what are the pieces that are missing. I mean, as a developer, especially with an eye on what's next from our own platform sort of thing. I'm curious what would be missing and how hard it would be to implement. Case in point, just getting a Bible, like a good Bible in VR in front of you whenever you need it, to look through it is not, because none of these platforms are designed for that. And it can be done, but it's really clunky. So for example, for VR chat, I've got a world where you actually can do that. Now it's not great. The formatting's not good, and there's a lot of obstacles to getting that from alpha to beta. Let's just say, but it's there, and but that's an easy one. Like reading the Bible is and having a Bible in front of you is an easy one that all these platforms are going to lack. Beyond that, I'm kind of curious what other features people are like, yeah, you know what, this is good, but to do a small group, it would be awesome to have X, Y, and Z, being able to take notes or pull this up or whatever. I'm curious to sort of like continue to have groups and meetings so we can kind of synthesize all of that and say like, okay, like if we had all of this, it would be a significant difference. Because right now there's sort of this question of like, okay, we could spin up our own platform, but man, like what you're saying, it's like, dude, Big Screen has all of this, all the networking is taken care of, all the avatar stuff is taken care of, they're doing it all for us. Why are we going to beat our heads against the wall dealing with servers and accounts and safety and like all of the issues that come with creating your own app? And it'd be like, well, yeah, but it's worth it because we have X, Y, and Z. And maybe a Bible reader is enough. I don't know, but I don't know. Like it hasn't yet. So I'm curious when you guys really get humming over there, what your impressions are for groups.
Yeah, and I think that's going to come a lot sooner rather than later, because even one of our group's leaders currently, he did his event in alt space this past week, and he was just like, yeah, I think I'm ready to just hop over and see what this is
Yeah.
going to look like in big screen at this point. So I told him, I was like, dude, you've got the green light. Whenever you're ready to head on over, go for it. So, but I will also say this. Another cool win for us today with big screen was, I put up the script in our alt space world that said, we're moving to big screen, and currently we've got it live. And there were probably 5 or 6 people who hopped into our alt space world that then joined over to big screen when they saw that sign and joined our event in big screen. I was like, that to me is a huge win right now, because now they're associating what they already know here and coming and joining in over here. I was like, so we'll have some movement. We'll have some people that will come with us on that ride. And so I was like, this is cool.
That is very good. I would say for me, observing our flock and our team, I had a few of those moments as well in various ways, and I won't go into the specifics. But overall, my sense is that the transition seems like it's going to be smoother than maybe we thought it would. People are sort of saying, if they're, they've hopped over into VR chat and are starting to get excited. And it's not to say they aren't still sad about the change, which is natural, but far more quickly than even I anticipated, people are kind of saying like, oh yeah, VR chat's pretty awesome. Actually, there are a lot of things to like. It's still, there's still a lot of insanity there, but it's, it's like maybe demystified a little bit, and the opportunities there for the people who are still looking forward and not stuck on the past. Like the ones that are looking forward are kind of like, okay, like not a fan of change, but we don't have a choice, so let's suck it up and let's do this. And it's like, yes. And so you had kind of like signaled that, or you kind of like threw that out there in a past episode, which is like, this idea that, what might spawn from this, it actually may be, some growth that would not have happened had alt space not gone away. And so I think we're already starting to see that. So that's cool. Yeah. So I'm with you in our own little way. I think we've had very similar wins so far, or this week.
Yeah. And that's great because this is very early stages, right? Like somebody's going to stumble across this podcast episode and alt space is going to be shut down for 2-3 months at that point. And they're going to sit there and say, well, these guys were concerned that people weren't going to transition or it was going to be a lot rougher. And they're going to know because, hindsight being 2020, they're living in the future of this episode. They're like, it wasn't a problem at all. In fact, more has spurred off of this because of it. And we're going to, we'll look back on this and go, dude, God knew what he was doing. And I will say, like, there's a lot of people even still currently talking about how they see this as a God thing for VR ministries, for metaverse ministries, in just the sense of one platform will no longer be saturated by all the churches, but now it's going to be well spread out and more opportunity for outreach is going to happen because of it. So it's fun to see. It's fun to, it's fun to carry our own concerns or worries and just see how God at the end of the day is just like, your concerns and worries are not concerns and worries for me. My heart is for people, and we're going to continue to reach people as long as you're obedient and willing to step out in faith. So
that's good. All right. Well, we were going to talk Discord, and really, you had started to get into that in the discussion about big screen, but you actually hadn't totally said when we were talking earlier where it was going with that. So, are we ready? I really want to hear what was going on in big screen today that you were like, we got to talk Discord.
Yeah. So we talked about it with big screen in the previous episode with a deep dive, and it just still rings so true that there's just no way of friending anybody. Like I have I don't know that I should appropriately post or highlight this, but like right here is a note of all the users who hopped into Big Screen today. That
Yeah.
way, anytime that I launch another event in Big Screen, I'll have this note open. And if there's a name that pops up in later Big Screen event that was part of this, I have this running of like, oh, dude, you've been here before. Cool. Thanks for coming again, kind of thing. But it really stressed for me the importance of having that Discord, because if I will consider Big Screen a massive win when people start joining our Discord and we're able to follow up with them and they want to start being connected with what God is doing with Lakeland in Big Screen. Like it's a win. Like it's a big yay God moment for what we experienced today. But when I start seeing people take that next step of joining our Discord and being in community with others throughout the week, that's when I'll really say that Big Screen is as effective as it possibly can be, or as effective as Altspace once was. But at the end of the day, like it really, really just, it stresses that importance. I've always said Discord and VR ministry are PB and J.
Yeah.
If you don't have one, you just either have a jelly sandwich or you have a peanut butter sandwich, and everybody just wants that peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So you got to have both. And I know the other platforms have friend features on them. I'm still not too sure that Altspace didn't have the best when it comes to all of them at this point. I'll be curious to see, but yeah, for sure, Big Screen in comparison to the other platforms that we've talked about, you will definitely have to have that Discord and an easy way for people to get to it.
Yeah. So just to clarify, so there's literally no friends list in Big Screen.
None.
And it's not connected to, well, it can't be, because there is a desktop app along with the getting in by the Quest, right? So it's not like solely Quest users or Meta users. So it could be somebody on any number of devices, correct?
Well, yeah, but not desktop. I don't think desktop. I don't think
there is no desktop. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, the only use for desktop, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong. I would love for somebody to tell me that I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the only use for the desktop is for the remote desktop feature.
Got it. Okay.
So
that's good. That's really good to know. That you're right. That is a massive. I mean, again, just going back to some of what we've talked about. I mean, VR chat, the only real way to do an event is to go in there and send invites to all of your friends that you are friends with. Like it's literally the only way to really like say like, hey, we're doing an event. Now they've added groups, which is an interesting thing. We can circle back at some point on. Certainly, and it's early days on it. So once we know more, we can. But I agree with you. Altspace's friends list was really, really good. Still, it wasn't the most convenient way to communicate with each other, though. I mean,
sure.
People would message me and it'd be like, like quick replies, but I wasn't having any meaningful back and forths with people. At least I wasn't in Altspace, because it was always just either let's just talk or we'll go to Discord. It's much easier there. So, okay. So then let's talk Discord. I think the first thing that you just said is right out of the gate is a pro tip that I have to give all of the credit on our side to a guy that is a cornerstone guy. His name is Seraph online. He created the URL for us and pointed it to our Discord. And when you did that, it was like that absolute brilliance. And so you guys do it too. And it's a good, it's a really, really good idea. And so from an advice standpoint, any church that is going to have a Discord, go gobble up some URL, go pay your $15 and register it, and, figure out what a URL that you can rattle off and that someone will know, without having to write it down. Now, you're going to want it written down in as many places as you can. But if you're in a conversation with someone and you can say, go to this.com and that'll get you to the right place, that's where you want to be. And
Yep.
even if someone's never used Discord, like, I don't use Discord. It's okay. Go to that URL, sign up. It'll get you to the right place. That's got to be the conversation. It's literally how much time you've got to like lay that down. Is that anything you would add to that?
Nope, that's 100% accurate. We ran with the URL idea because that was your suggestion for us, and it made sense because if you look at any kind of invite from Discord, it's a very generic like HTTPS colon / Discord / blah 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 blah, right?
Yeah,
like it's
letters and numbers
super hard.
and yeah.
Whereas, like you said, we do have it written down in our world currently. Again, trying to figure that out and what that looks like for a big screen. But I mean, even we do have a slide deck. We have a slides.com slide deck that we use for some of our events that we host, and in there there are a couple different slides that as we're going through, it just reminds people lakelanddiscord.com. lakelanddiscord.com, and we try to talk about it as often as possible, and I tell people all the time. So like even as we're diving into Discord right now, there's some people that they have no idea what Discord is, so I'm going to throw that question to you to explain it. However, we tell people all the time, and I tell people all the time, the number of people that attend our events, whether that's Altspace or RIP or Big Screen, I always have to try to remember to throw that RIP in there when I talk about Altspace. Anytime that I talk about any of those events, I tell people like that's not Lakeland VR. Like I don't consider those our church. I consider those who are part of our Discord our Lakeland VR, because those are people who took a next step. They got plugged in with us. They're communicating with us throughout the week. Like it's more than just, I attend, right? Like these are people who have taken some kind of initiative to say, I like what I saw here in Altspace, RIP, Big Screen, whatever, that I want to be connected with these people throughout the week. Whether that's, if that's even for just more consumerism, like I want to know what other events they have going on, fine, whatever. But that's where I tell people, like, our Lakeland VR, like if somebody asked me how many people are a part of your VR campus, to me, it wouldn't be the numbers that I report at the end of an event, but I would hop over to Discord and say, we have 125 people that are a part of our Discord. This is Lakeland VR. That's what because again, they've taken that initiative to go further than just our events. So go ahead. You're thinking.
I do. Yeah. In talking about this, so functionally, the advice to any church going into the space is get your Discord server up and running. Now, I think we would probably need a whole other episode on like that's the one, the 101 is the URL, get it up and running, make sure you're telling everybody about it and get it. The 201 is how to moderate it, because there's so much to it. To do it well. Yep. And just like finding an Altspace RIP person or a VR chat person or a big screen person that really knows the platform well, finding a Discord person, especially when you really start getting a lot of users, like that's gonna make your life so much easier just to have someone dedicated to that, because there's quite a bit that goes into it. What I was thinking about, though, is just how to think about Discord. And again, none of this is all encompassing. I know that there are exceptions. I see them as exceptions, but that's just maybe me, where Discord is the thing and then everything else is sort of ancillary to that. But I see that as a mistake. And there will be Discord only people. And I'm sure you experienced that too. There's some people that will be part of your metaverse family that really actually won't go into VR at all, won't get into any apps. They will just be on Discord. Somehow they end up there, and that is where they are. That's okay. That's fine. Yep. But what I have experienced with Discord is that as a main thing, it's not very good. It tends to devolve into at best sometimes unhelpful, just kind of spam conversations, and then and other times it gets downright toxic, as any message board will if you leave it on its own long enough, because bad guys will always just kind of show up. But where its real strength is, and this is kind of what you're talking about, this is really what you're describing, is it is amazing, and this is what it was designed for, to support a thing that's really healthy, to support a thing that doesn't have the greatest connectivity, and you use that to sort of fill in the gap wherever that other healthy thing is, where it doesn't have it, you kind of mesh those two things together, and now you've got this amazing experience with a healthy connectivity. And so for us, like, Altspace has been really, really fantastic. And then Discord comes alongside and says, like, hey, when you're not in VR, stay connected here. Like you said, find out when we're going to be doing things, and don't just happen to show up when we're doing things. Like, no, I want to be a part of this community and do things when you guys are doing things. So I'm going to show up in the Discord and learn all of those things. We're going to have conversations and meetings and things like that to, alongside what we do in Altspace or VR chat or anywhere else. And so that, that's where Discord comes in, where it's like, hey, we can't stay as connected as we would like to in this or that. This will help us do that. So when it's flipped the other way around and Discord becomes the primary focus, and we've kind of been, we've touched on this from time to time, where it's been like, hey, let's really get that humming in some way, but it's never really worked. Because it's not really good for that. Because as the main thing, to me, it ends up being like not necessarily the healthiest place. Final thing, as I started, I'll end with it. I realize there are exceptions to this. I realize there are some Discord only groups that are absolutely hopping. That has not been our experience. So, for whoever has been able to make that happen, that's great. Maybe there's some things out there where that does work. But for us who have lots of other things going on, that the other way around has worked best for us.
Yeah, which is really interesting, because you and I have talked about this before, that if I look at your guys' Discord, or I look at, let's say, Oasis VR Church, like, I feel like you guys have the best Discords, active Discords that I've seen when it comes to metaverse ministries. And I kind of covet what you guys have going on. So I say that because it's interesting, because it sounds like between the two of us, I value Discord higher in what it offers, in the sense that I would say that this is our church compared to you, just because it sounds like you're saying that, like, what you just explained is like, in this perfect combination of something, you guys would say that the emphasis is more on the in-app game user platforms, VR, Altspace, VR chat. And I'm saying, well, I love these. I can do prayer requests and push Bible and daily reflections and all that kind of stuff on people, and communicate in a way that I might not be able to in platform.
Yeah, maybe it's a philosophical distinction that doesn't even warrant that actual distinction. I think probably the way that I think about it, and I don't know, I don't think we're too far away from each other. It may just be in terms of thinking about vision and thinking about where, what like growth looks like, not in terms of numbers, but in terms of growth of our, our body and the church itself. My first thought is platform. My first thought is, okay, what's going on in VR chat? What's going on in Altspace? What's going on wherever we are? And then how do we use Discord to buttress that? Mm-hmm. And the first thought is always platform, and Discord is there to support that. That being said, it's a really, really great way to, I guess also it's an identity thing, right? Like, our VR chat people are, sort of our VR chat people. And right. I don't see, and again, it's not, maybe the distinction is, I'm making more of the distinction than it actually is, but I don't think that our VR chat people see themselves as like Cornerstone people and Discord is the hub, and then they just happen to attend that campus. Like you would, and a multi-site model of a church would be like, yeah, no, you're a member of this church and you happen to go to this campus or that campus, and that would be the Discord model where the campuses are ancillary. The way that we see it, it's really more the other way around, where Discord isn't really a place or a thing other than a communication system, right? And so, and it's still, there still is very much that idea of, no, there's this campus, there's that campus, and generally people gravitate towards one or the other. And Discord is there as a connector, but not as a thing in and of itself. The one thing I will agree with you on, though, is it is a really, really great step for people to take, that you can kind of identify, okay, this person is more than just someone who happens to show up, even regularly show up. They want to know more. They want to know us, and they want us to know them. And it's, and that's really good. So on that one, I definitely will agree. And I also will just finish with this. I'm not saying one is right or wrong. For me though, I would say maybe for us, I think it works better the way that I'm describing it.
Yeah. And what's funny is, like, I'm over here smiling because there's going to be somebody who listens to it. There's going to be camps of people who listen to this, that what they're going to hear and what's going to excite them is exactly how you just described how Cornerstone is using Discord. And then there's going to be another camp like me that, as you're describing it, are going to smile because what they're hearing is what they see it at, how they see it and how they want to use it, because that's how I see it, where I tell, like, when I moved into the seat as the VR campus pastor, one of the conversations that we had as a staff, my executive pastor, myself, was, what is this title for Stuart going to be? Is he going to be VR campus pastor? Is he going to be metaverse pastor? What's this title going to be? And one of the things that we ultimately came up with was, let's start with VR campus pastor, because metaverse pastor or metaverse director has like this leveling up concept to it, because it's across the board at that point, right? And so I've painted this picture for people that at some point in time, what I believe is going to happen for Lakeland is, and again, with Altspace shutting down, RIB is forcing the hand a little bit more. But I've always painted the picture that here is Lakeland Metaverse. And we're going to have a representative for VR chat. We're going to have representatives for big screen. We're going to have representatives for rec room. We're going to have representatives for whatever. And so I sit here as this metaverse director that's pouring into those who are leading these campuses in these platforms. And so that's why, like, dude, there's going to be a camp that's like, yeah, this bolsters what we have going on. And then there's going to be the camp that smiles like me and goes, this is where we influence the other platforms and the people and kind of bleed that down through the system. Because I view it as a I tell people Discord would be for us our Grand Central Station. If you're primarily VR chat, but you hear about Lakeland VR and big screen and you eventually want to see it, the best way that you're going to find it is finding the room access key code in our Discord in order for you to go see what that campus is doing over there. So I love Discord just for what it provides in that sense of, like, there's a way for us to cross-pollinate platforms, and it all happens right there.
Totally agree, and that actually is. I think you just sort of bridge the gap between really what we're saying, because I love the idea of it as Grand Central Station. It's not a campus unto itself. It's the place where all of the campuses are linked up as that hub, and that, I think that is a really, really great analogy, because you could do church in Grand Central Station. That would be pretty cool, but it's not a campus. Here's the thing though. You're not doing it there. Right. Like, you're not like we do some of our Dream Team meetings, we just do on Discord because some people can't get to it. We do counseling sessions there. We do counseling training there. And I know you guys do the same thing. And so it's a really weird animal where it isn't a thing, but it is used as a thing when you need it. And so that's why it's so versatile. I get that the thing that I guess I think you would probably both agree is that it's so versatile that I just don't see anything else better than it right now. to run metaverse ministry, which again is I think is aligns with what you're saying, and I like that. So Grand Central Station, I'm stealing that. That's the perfect way to describe it. Sweet.
All right. So 2 things that I'll close out on for this episode would be this. You and I have talked about in previous episodes, like things coming down the pipeline or something that we're dreaming about would happen and whatnot. And one of those things was a platform for churches, especially in light of alt space shutting down. Like, what would it look like for there to be a platform that the church owns, operates, all that kind of stuff, open to the public, but, is really designed for the church? I will say, as you and I have talked and dreamed about that, one of the people that was in our big screen event today said that their church is currently working on a platform and getting ready to release it. So I don't know if you've heard rumors like that too of a church that's working on it, but I was just like, do I know who?
Yeah.
I do.
Tell me offline. Yeah.
I'll tell you offline. Yeah, because there's only, to my knowledge, there's only 2 other churches playing in big screen right now. And one of those churches I haven't seen on there in a while. So I don't necessarily know that they are anymore. I'd be curious. I've got connections over there, so I need to reach out to them and ask, hey, you guys even do this anymore?
We totally just teased our audience, but
I know. But I'm just like,
we'll have the big reveal next episode, so everybody's got to come back for the next one.
Right.
I've heard of a few that say they are working on it, but it's very much speculative. I do know of one that is. I just don't know what it's going to be like. And then so I think there's going to be quite a few stabs at it. I've been expecting it. I'm frankly surprised that there haven't been more churches that have taken a shot at it, because it's a big undertaking, but it's not impossible, and especially for a church with some money. So it's just a matter of having a church with the vision to throw a few bucks at it and give it a go, and being willing to fail with it, because it's a worthwhile endeavor. But I'd be very surprised if by the end of the year a church doesn't have a multiplayer platform out there in some way. I'd be shocked if that doesn't happen.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing that I was going to say was us talking about Discord is a great way to land this episode. So that being said, we're going to call it good for this episode of the Metaverse Church podcast. And our encouragement to you would be, if you want to stay connected with us, the best way to do that would be to join our Discord. The link will be in the show notes. So we are not fancy yet. We don't have a URL. So the best way for you to find our Discord at this point would just be hop into the show notes. We'll link it in there. You can hop in. The conversations in there have been great. I've been really enjoying just talking with other Metaverse ministry folks or just attendees, some of our churches that have found their way in there, and it's been super fun conversations, and just the camaraderie that's taking place in there has been great. So hop over to our Discord. You're always welcome. You'll always be loved in that place. That's going to be a great way for you to ask any questions of Goose, myself, or any of the other Metaverse pastors that are a part of that channel. On top of that, if you do have any questions for us, another way that you can reach out to us is the Metaversechurchpodcast at gmail.com. And Goose, anything else on your end?
No, that's good. Good stuff. Cool. See you next time.
Yeah, so be sure to subscribe, leave a rating and review. That gets us out to more people, and we will see you next week for the Metaverse Church podcast. Be blessed.